In the early hours of April 15, 1912, the world changed forever. A ship that symbolized human progress, wealth, and engineering power, slipped beneath the dark, icy waters of the North Atlantic. The RMS Titanic. A name that still sends a chill down the spine, more than a century later. For some, the Titanic is just a story of an ocean liner that sank. But for the thousands of passengers on board, it was their home, their dream, their escape, and, ultimately, their grave. Today, we go beyond the famous story. Beyond the textbook version. Beyond what Hollywood showed you. This is the full untold story, the hidden warnings, the heroes, the technical mistakes, the human drama, and the unsolved mysteries that still haunt us today. The world before Titanic. The early 1900s was a time unlike any other. It was the age of steel, steam, and status. The Industrial Revolution had transformed society. Cities glowed with electric lights. Factories rose like giants. The first airplanes were appearing in the sky. Automobiles rattled down cobblestone streets. Wealthy millionaires carved out a lifestyle of extravagance, gowns, grand hotels, fine dining, world travel. Meanwhile, millions of immigrants searched desperately for opportunity. For them, America was not just a country, it was a promise, almost a myth. And standing proudly at the center of this new world of ambition was the White Star Line, a shipping company determined to outshine all its rivals. Its goal: to build the largest, most luxurious, and supposedly safest ship ever created by human hands. The world waited in anticipation. Newspapers called it a marvel. Engineers called it perfection. And the White Star Line called it its masterpiece. The Royal Mail ship Titanic. The making of a giant. Titanic was not built overnight. Construction began in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. More than 3,000 workers, including steel riveters, carpenters, engineers, laborers, and designers, dedicated 2 years of their lives to the project. The shipyard believed they were building something that would be remembered forever, and they were right, though not in the way they expected. Titanic stretched an astonishing 882 feet long, nearly the length of 3 football fields. It towered 11 stories high, with 4 enormous funnels, 3 functional, 1 added purely for aesthetics. The ship contained a gymnasium, a swimming pool, squash courts, a Turkish bath, libraries, smoking rooms, and dozens of lounges. To the wealthy elite, Titanic was a floating palace. To the middle class, it was elegance they could finally touch. To the poor, it was a lifeline, a chance at a fresh start across the Atlantic. And yet, even in its engineering brilliance, certain decisions would later prove fatal. Titanic carried watertight compartments, designed so that if water entered one, the others would remain sealed. It was believed the ship could survive the flooding of 4 compartments. But on that disastrous night, 6 compartments were torn open. And there was another oversight, one of the most tragic. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats. Enough for barely half the passengers on board. Why so few? Because they would clutter the deck, and because the ship was considered unsinkable. The unsinkable myth. Was Titanic really advertised as unsinkable? Yes, and no. White Star never officially used the word. But newspapers, magazines, and even scientific journals repeated it constantly. The public believed it wholeheartedly. Passengers proudly told friends they were boarding the safest ship ever built. Even the chief officer declared that Titanic was as close to unsinkable as modern science can make. That sentence cost over 1,500 lives. Because when you believe something can't fail, you prepare less. You take risks. You ignore warnings. And Titanic received many warnings. More than 6 ships sent iceberg alerts through wireless radio. But the radio operators, overwhelmed with messages from wealthy passengers, did not prioritize them. One of the most important warnings came from a ship called the SS Californian, which reported massive ice fields directly in Titanic's path. The response from Titanic's radio operator: "Shut up. I am busy." He could never have imagined that this single message would echo through history with unbearable weight. The maiden voyage begins. April 10, 1912, Southampton. Crowds gathered to watch the world's greatest ship set sail. Families waved goodbye. Workers cheered as the massive vessel moved slowly from the dock. Aboard Titanic were some of the wealthiest people of the century. John Jacob Astor IV, one of the richest men alive. Benjamin Guggenheim, the mining magnate. Isidore and Ida Strauss, owners of Macy's. Margaret, Molly, Brown, who would later be called the unsinkable Molly Brown. Alongside them traveled hundreds of immigrants from Ireland, England, Sweden, Lebanon, and more, men, women, and children seeking a new life in America. Titanic sailed to Cherbourg, France, then Queenstown, now Cobh, Ireland, picking up more passengers. Then she turned westward, toward New York. Passengers marveled at the ship's beauty. They dined on 10-course meals. They strolled on the deck. They danced in grand halls. They slept peacefully, unaware that this voyage, meant to be their beginning, would be their end. A perfect storm of mistakes. It was not just one error that doomed Titanic. It was a chain of mistakes, each small on its own, but deadly when combined. 1. The speed. Titanic was sailing at nearly 22 knots, close to maximum speed, despite iceberg warnings. Why? To impress the world. To arrive early. To show that White Star Line had built not just the largest ship, but the fastest luxury vessel on the Atlantic. 2. The lookout. The lookout crew had no binoculars. A simple administrative error. The key was accidentally locked away by an officer who was replaced at the last minute. Without binoculars, lookouts had to rely on naked eyes, on one of the darkest nights imaginable. 3. The ocean conditions. The sea was unnervingly calm. Normally, waves help reveal icebergs by breaking against them. But that night, the ocean was like glass, silent, still, and deadly. 4. The design flaw. Titanic's watertight compartments did not reach high enough. When the first compartments flooded, water spilled over into the next, and the next, like a series of dominoes. 5. The lifeboats. Even worse than the limited number, was the training. The crew had never practiced a full evacuation. Many did not even know how to use the davits, the mechanisms that released the boats. These mistakes converged on a single moment in history. A moment that changed the world. The collision. April 14, 1912, 11:40 p.m. Lookout Frederick Fleet spotted a dark shape ahead and rang the bell 3 times. Iceberg, right ahead. The officers attempted to turn the ship and reverse the engines, a maneuver that some experts believe made the collision worse. Titanic scraped along the iceberg's starboard side. Passengers barely felt the impact. Some described it as a gentle bump, others as a slow grinding. But below the surface, the damage was catastrophic. The iceberg tore open over 250 feet of the hull. 6 compartments flooded within minutes. Titanic was doomed. And still, many on board did not believe it. The slow descent. Passengers continued playing cards. Some went back to sleep. The band played cheerful music to keep spirits calm. Officers ordered lifeboats prepared, but the crew hesitated. They feared lowering the boats fully loaded might cause them to break. As a result, the first lifeboats launched with only 12 to 30 people, despite the capacity of 65. Seconds turned to minutes. Minutes turned to panic. Passengers realized the impossible. The unsinkable ship was sinking. Chaos erupted. Women clung to husbands. Children cried. Lifeboats filled unevenly. Third-class passengers struggled to reach the upper decks. Many were trapped by locked gates, a cruel attempt to control social class even during disaster. The ocean was below freezing, about -2 degrees Celsius. Anyone who fell in would die within minutes. Stories of courage and tragedy. The band, one of the most legendary acts of bravery, came from Titanic's band. Knowing death was near, they continued playing to calm the passengers. Their final piece is believed to be, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." They all died in the icy waters. The Strauss couple. Ida Strauss refused a seat on a lifeboat, choosing to stay with her husband, Isidore. "We have lived together for many years. Where you go, I go." They sat together on deck chairs as the ship went down. Benjamin Guggenheim. He changed into his finest evening wear and told a steward, "We are dressed in our best and prepared to go down like gentlemen." The unsinkable Molly Brown. Margaret Brown helped row a lifeboat for hours, encouraging others not to give up. The engineering crew. Down below, dozens of engineers stayed at their posts, fighting to keep the lights and pumps working, delaying the sinking long enough for lifeboats to escape. Their sacrifice saved hundreds. The final minutes. By 2:10 a.m., Titanic's bow was fully underwater. The stern rose higher and higher. Passengers still clung to the railings. Some jumped into the ocean. Others prayed. Some simply held hands. At 2:18 a.m. the ship broke in two. The stern section floated for a few seconds, before plunging downward in a violent spiral. At 2:20 a.m. Titanic disappeared beneath the Atlantic. More than 1,500 people were gone. Less than 705 survived. Their screams echoed across the water until one by one they fell silent. The Carpathia rescue. Around 4 a.m. the RMS Carpathia arrived after receiving Titanic's distress call. What they saw was haunting. Lifeboats scattered in darkness filled with survivors shivering silently. One by one, they pulled people aboard, frozen, traumatized, many unable to speak. The Carpathia's captain ordered a moment of silence as the ship passed the area where Titanic had sunk. The world reacts. News of the disaster stunned the world. Headlines screamed, "Titanic lost. All hope abandoned. World's largest ship sinks." Families waited at New York Harbor, praying to see loved ones step off the Carpathia. Some rejoiced. Many collapsed in grief. Investigations began immediately. Questions were asked. Why so few lifeboats? Why was the ship speeding? Why were warnings ignored? Why were gates locked between classes? The world demanded answers. And because of Titanic, maritime laws changed forever. More lifeboats, 24-hour radio communication, ice patrol monitoring, regular evacuation drills. Lives lost led to lives saved. The 1985 discovery. For 73 years, Titanic lay silent in darkness. No one knew exactly where she rested. Until September 1, 1985, when oceanographer Robert Ballard discovered the wreck, 2.5 miles beneath the surface. The ship was split in two, surrounded by a graveyard of belongings, shoes, cups, luggage, letters, frozen in time. The images stunned the world. Titanic was real again. Not a legend, not a movie, but a true tragedy, preserved at the bottom of the ocean. Mysteries that still remain. More than 110 years later, the Titanic still raises questions. Did design flaws doom the ship? Did the steel become brittle in cold waters? Could the Californian have saved more lives? Why did the officers ignore warnings? What happened in the final unrecorded minutes? And perhaps the biggest mystery. Why did a ship believed to be invincible become the greatest maritime tragedy in history? Maybe because Titanic represents more than an accident. She is a reminder of human ambition, our desire to conquer nature, to rise above limits, to build something immortal. But nature is never impressed. And the ocean never forgives. Final message. The sinking of the Titanic was not just a disaster. It was a turning point. A moment when the world realized that technology, wealth, and pride cannot defeat fate. It is a story of love, courage, sacrifice, and heartbreaking loss. A story that continues to echo across time, from the depths of the Atlantic to the hearts of millions. The Titanic may have sunk, but her story will never be forgotten. If you found this documentary meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories from history.